Hi, I'm Rob Buckingham and welcome to Bayside TV. Today on the show we have guest artist Michael Painter performing his hit number, and we take a look at how gender roles have been changing over time.
It's the woman's role to stay at home, to cook, clean and make sure her man is happy. It's also the woman's role to look after the kids and make sure they are well behaved. It's the man's role to go out there every day and earn a living for the family. I doubt that'll ever change.
Well, have gender roles changed over time? Guest today is Jamie Malcolm.
Hey, how are you, Rob?
Very well, thank you.
Good to see you, mate.
TV presenter extraordinaire.
Sure, whatever you like.
Whatever we like.
Rockstar, guru, I don't know, it just never stops.
All of the above. And Lisa McInnes-Smith, motivational speaker, welcome.
Hi, Rob. Great to be here.
My regular co-host is Christy B.
That's me.
Excellent. Have the roles of men and women changed over time? What do you reckon, Jamie?
I do everything in my house, everything. My wife does nothing. Does nothing. Watches soapies, has the occasional gin. That's
watches Bayside TV.
Do you have a dog house? Because you're probably going to be in it when you get home. Your wife does nothing.
Do you know what? Have they changed? Yeah. Look, if I could say anything, I've noticed that a lot of my mates, fellas, stay home a lot more and do a lot more around the house. In fact, if I spoke to a guy and said, have you changed a nappy recently? And he said no, I'd be really surprised.
He'd be unusual.
Absolutely. Guys are into it. Guys are doing all the lady stuff.
So you changed your kids' nappies and all that kind of stuff?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so did I.
Yeah.
Way to go.
It was awful, wasn't it? Yeah. It was awful.
And it's still awful. It's never changed from generation.
Some of them were awful.
When it comes to the childcare stuff, I get that. I really do get that. But there is some stuff that goes on, and I'm going to have women, writing to me about this, but it's just not right. I mean, it's just not right that men do all the stuff. I wonder what some of these women do. Their husbands cook, their husbands clean, their husbands iron, their husbands pack.
Wow.
I'm like going, you need a maid, not a husband.
Okay, hold on a second. What is your husband? Does your husband iron?
He can, but he doesn't.
Hold on, Rob. You just wait.
He can, but he doesn't. I mean, there are some rules that I just think, like, I don't want to take the bin out. That is so a boy's job.
Yeah, it's a man's job.
Well, I don't agree, because I have girlfriends that would rather do the lawns and be outside and clean the pool and would rather do the outside thing, and their husband would rather cook and clean and do more things inside. And
so
I love this.
All right. Would you take the bin out, please?
Yeah, I would.
You would take the bin out?
I do sometimes.
But it's not right. It's not right.
Sometimes, though, we've got to clarify this. Sometimes Lisa takes the bin out, but her husband is in the bin.
You got to take the trash out, not sleep with it.
Something happens when a woman, I get home and I put on my little penny and I become like a domestic goddess. I mean, I'm in charge of that place. It works.
Man, right?
It happens. But when a guy puts on a penny, I mean, something's wrong.
I'm not wearing a penny.
No, he's
not. There's no way I'm wearing a penny.
Do you cook, Rob?
Yeah. I love to cook.
Three things.
What does he do?
Three things. He does a roast.
Yeah.
He does the best bacon and eggs. I don't do those two dishes. And he makes an unbelievable fried rice.
And an omelette. 4 things.
I have never killed
You are going up in my
18
estimation.
years of, actually once or twice, maybe. But it's not your dish.
Lisa, no, you're my dish, baby.
Hey, you are getting
for a
full.
segue. Lisa, what do you think the #1 change in gender roles has been through your lifetime?
Well, I think the #1 role change is that people can do what they are now good at, not what they have to do. I do not have to do what my mother did. I now have more choices than my mother had, and certainly my brothers, my husband, they all have more choices.
Well, I'd have to agree with that. I mean, my mother would go for a day shopping, but she would leave my father's meal ready. I can go out for the day and Rob can feed himself. I mean, we would go away for a few days, and Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday everything would be labelled and left in the freezer. I don't have to do that for Rob, because when I go away, everybody else feeds him.
Yeah, there you go.
What is that about? What is that about from a gender perspective, right? Rob goes away, but nobody checks in to see if I'm alive in terms of enough food.
That's true.
With him, he gets invite after invite and food as much as he wants.
People look after you.
Totally.
There you go.
Hey, I'm worth looking after.
So,
Just on that.
Oh, yeah? But I wanted to ask Lisa a question. Yes. Like, Lisa, do you think, I hear what you're saying, and I do agree that people can do what they're good at.
Yes.
However, are men losing some, just hear me out, some of their identity because then they're doing this at-home parenting thing, but they're not necessarily fully fulfilled, and they're not completely then, like when they turn up at the butterfly party with the child, when 9 out of 10 is mothers, it's not quite there yet either.
I don't think that there's a problem with it. No. I think it's not this or this.
Yeah, I agree.
think there's a blending, and I think some dads love to have a taste of that. Some dads love to be immersed in it, and that's great. But the thing here is we're saying, let's make sure that the person that's good at the money does the money. And the person that's good at the cleaning does it, because, you know,
that's true.
How frustrated do we get when the person that can't cook cooks? Come on, let's have the good cook cooking.
It's not great, is it? Well, I love what you're saying there, though, that things have opened up, they've broadened. Like, I remember, you know, in high school, for example, there's myself and a number of the other guys wanted to do home economics. We wanted to do cooking, all right? But we couldn't because we were men, all right? And so I'm just talking about what my high school was like. So we had to do metalwork, woodwork and technical drawing.
Absolutely.
Right?
I was the same.
There were girls who didn't want to do home economics, cooking. They wanted to do...
make stuff.
But we couldn't because... You know, that was what men do, and that's why. No, I'm not including sewing in that.
Well, I think you should, because my dad was sewing his own underwear, a hole in his underwear the other day. So he's in his 70s, and he said, I would have never been allowed to do this in another era. But here I am, a man who was raised as a man's man. He said, I can fix stuff because I now have the skills to be able to multi-skill.
See, I can't even fix my socks. Darn.
Okay, so here's where I think we've gone slightly astray, right? Because before, women could do the same jobs as men could. They just had to be twice as good at it. Now what's happening is a lot more is men are out working, but then they've also got to do all these other things. And I think that there's that it's sort of gone a little bit. Maybe we're just going to come somewhere in the middle, but at the moment it's kind of, you know.
Do you know, I tend to find that guys do a lot more jobs now that would have been considered ladies' jobs. Let's say cooking and cleaning, absolutely. I don't know. And then when it comes to the men's jobs now, I tend to think we ring people and get them to do them for us. Like putting up shelves and things like that.
I do that.
The bins. I have an army of helpers I just called.
Right. Yes, you're a TV person.
Oh, that's it.
Let's ask the question, though. Where do these roles actually come from? Like, who said women have to do this, this and this, and men have to do this, this and this? Where do you think they come from, Jamie?
Do you know, I think generally, I don't want to sound sexist here.
You can.
Here we go.
You can. Because I probably will. So it's okay. You can go there.
Just say, I mean, generally men are physically stronger than women.
They are. It's not generally.
So
it's
I think that's why we got those sorts of jobs, and then ladies got other jobs like knitting.
Oh, come on. There's not that many really strong jobs, though. Putting out the rubbish doesn't take a lot of strength.
It doesn't. Pulling the wheelie bin over.
No, it doesn't. I'm strong enough for that.
I've pulled leg muscle doing that before, really.
Now, you know, here's the thing. Here's the thing, right? If you are a female and you are strong, you get allowed to do everything and anything. If you're a female and you play the poor little weak snivelling female, everybody comes and helps you. And Rob said to me one day, oh, but they were crying. I said, you want tears? Tears? Is that what we'll take? I'll show you. I'll show you tears.
She's hard, isn't she? She like this
at home? Oh, totally. Worse.
Wow.
You want tears?
We need to go to a break right now, and we'll be back in just a moment with Street Talk here on Bayside TV. Fantastic.
Typically in the past, the men of the family have been the breadwinners and the women of the family have looked after the children. So today, how have their roles changed? How have the roles of men and women changed?
Probably see a lot more mothers in the workforce, like my wife, than traditionally, like when I grew up, I suppose.
Like my boss is a woman, and like I've had 2 or 3 bosses that are women, so like it's equal now. It's just about equal. Or getting there.
Do you think that's good?
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, I don't mind taking orders off a woman. Like, it doesn't make any difference to me. It's
they're still human at the end of the day.
Well, they are exactly the same. It should be equal. It should be equal. It should be getting the same pay, the same rights, everything. You know what I mean? It should be equal.
How have the roles of men and women changed?
Well, instead of men being the sole breadwinner, women are equal contributors to income, sometimes the higher income earner, not just the stay-at-home mum these days, sometimes men are stay-at-home dads.
You have your women action figure movies, and you have your men, what do they call those movies where the men bond over, the men chick flicks, but I don't know what they're called.
Men chick flicks. Bromance.
Bromance, bromance.
There are many couples now where both are working, and sometimes both are working part-time and sharing the looking after the kids.
It's not as like close cut with what the definition of either sex is. You know, men can be stay-at-home dads now, and women can sort of be the breadwinners of the family in the corporate world and things like that.
I think they've actually kind of reversed sometimes in some of the respects that women are doing a lot more things that they probably wouldn't have done 50 years ago, and men now are taking on roles that probably in the past they would never have done before.
Do you see that as a good thing?
Yeah, why not?
Some interesting comments on Street Talk. What would be your standout line there?
I'm still laughing at Campbell's comment, who is our reporter there. His comment was, but women, they're still human at the end of the day.
I know.
Good on you, Campbell. I mean, that's a bumper sticker, mate. You'd be shot to death with that, wouldn't you, in your car?
You are not wrong.
You're still human at the end of the day.
Isn't that good to know?
I thought it was interesting as well that the Geordie guy was saying, you know, I can take orders from a woman.
Yeah.
Like, he wouldn't say I could take orders from a man. It's just the fact that a woman's given it, it becomes an order rather than a direction or an instruction. Or I just didn't like that.
You don't think you're reading too much into
no,
that?
No, I'm right. I've got something on there. I'm telling you, I can take orders from a woman.
Being a woman that's in the corporate workplace and often directing men, I don't think they see it as orders. I just think they see it as direction or advice.
So he just used that as a word.
Yes, I think he did too.
Maybe looking too
I think he
deep.
gets his,
Do you think there's gender confusion though today, Lisa?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
And one of the reasons I think is because the modelling that they have had is their parents' modelling, but their peers are living life differently to their parents.
Yeah.
True.
And in the workplace themselves, they've got women that are full-time workers. They've got women that are also married to their workers that are full-time mums. Like, everything goes, and they're wondering, well, which one should I be?
Everything does go, but it doesn't necessarily work. Like, for example, you could say there are not as many pilots, male as female. There's more males than females.
Yes. Sure.
You cannot be a female elite SAS. There is a limit to where you can go in that career. It is not equal.
Yeah.
Jamie's thinking something. I want to know what Jamie's thinking.
I was on a flight the other day, and the captain's voice came over and said, "Hi, this is your captain speaking," and it was a lady.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, there was probably 2/3 of the plane turned around, oh, look at her. But I must admit, it was a hell of a landing. Honestly, we landed so hard.
Oh, no.
Probably it was just coincidence.
Were there any jokes about drivers?
All the blokes were like, oh, there you go. She's probably on the phone, probably texting while she's trying to land or something.
Yeah.
But you know, the thing is, that is true. I mean, not all... You know,
not all jobs can be done by one particular gender, maybe, but there will be people watching who will go, I disagree with that.
And they can. That's fine. It's a free country.
I know one particular lady who's a friend of ours who can arm wrestle me and win.
Really?
Not that that's any great thing to brag about. But, yeah. Anyway, moving right along, the next question at this point. The feminist movement, what sort of impact on gender roles do you think that's made?
Huge. It had to happen, the feminist movement. You know, women didn't even have a vote. I think women got the first vote in New Zealand, wasn't it?
It was about 100 years ago.
Yeah, it was about 100 years ago. Absolutely had to happen. Yeah. I mean, very often with movements like that, they go extremely over to one side before they come back and get some balance. And man, balance and wisdom needs to be an umbrella under everything we do.
Yes. Yep.
And I think sometimes you still see it in some areas where women are still fighting for things. Yeah, sure, in some areas they need to happen, but as long as it's under wisdom and it's not just under emotional desire and drive and...
I'm glad you said there about the pendulum swinging, because that certainly seems to happen. For example, at the moment there seems to be a bit of an imbalance in that women can pretty well say anything they want to, but if a man says the same thing... You know, like there was a program a while ago here in Australia where Germaine Greer made a fairly blunt comment about the rear end of our Prime Minister.
Sure.
And then when the opposition leader sort of semi-agreed, agreed, all hell broke loose.
Yeah, right.
You know what I'm saying? So it was okay for Germaine Greer to say it, but not for a man.
Yeah.
But it's not. But that's not really the point. The point is that the media blew it up
They
to
did.
be something.
Big time.
And that's often the case. It's not that what's said; it's how it's reported.
The media blowing things up. How
Yeah.
dare you?
How unusual.
How very dare I can't believe
That's right. Do you think gender roles are good for us? Christy B, what do you reckon?
You mean as in what we...
Well, having certain things that women do and certain things that men do. Do you think that's a healthy thing? And are the lines being blurred? Is that now getting in maybe into unhealthy territory?
Well, I think that's a very, very good question. And talking recently to someone in relation to depression, they were saying that one of the problems is that because the lines are so blurred, and I find even in our roles that we have, that because the guys really don't know what they need to be, whether they need to be at home and be the perfect house husband, or whether they need to be out bringing in the money, and you know, this whole thing of husbands and wives getting up, the man is working and both of them have to get up for that crying baby. I'm going, there's something wrong with that. That guy, especially if his job could risk a limb, you know, it all gets a wee bit funky sometimes. So I think it is getting it a little bit mixed up. So I think that somewhere along the line there has to be, even if it's for a season, so that not everybody's trying to do everything all of the time and then accomplishing very little.
I agree, and I think lots of women are trying positions and then realising they don't want to be there. You know, we have some areas where we have very few women in really senior places, but it's not because women can't go there. It's sometimes because a woman gets to a certain season in her life and says, you know, I actually want more time with my children than I do in the workplace. So some of us are opting to be more family-oriented and to be more involved in home life, even though we are maybe the breadwinner in the family, and making choices to share the roles differently.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because I asked the question of a girlfriend of mine who paid for her children to go through private education, and I said, but you knew that they always just wanted to be parents at home, so what is actually the point of that? And so do we then, the way we educate boys and girls, should that be different? Are we then creating something that you know, that never really was what that person was all about in the first place, because we think we have to?
Yeah, I think the lines are completely blurred. And as far as it goes in our family and with friends that we have, I think it's totally fine. I think it totally works. You've got to do what works for you.
Sure.
And you've got to do what works for your family.
As long as it works, I agree.
As long as it works. Not through out of insecurity and not through out of guilt and different pressures, but you know, do it with wisdom and do what works, man. You got to do what works.
So in a relationship then, it needs to be in agreement?
Agreed. Absolutely.
Talk through.
Like if you want your, you know, some guys even get a little bit, you know, carried away about being the best cooks in their house or whatever, and that's all fine as long as they're happy about it. But if they're coming home from work and the wife is sitting there like a princess, and they're coming home from work and they're exhausted, and this is they have to cook because otherwise they won't eat.
So that's going to change in our household then? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'll put the numbers of the takeaways on the fridge. What's the problem?
Yeah, right.
I mean, stuff. My wife tore her calf muscle the other day. Well, 3 weeks ago. So she says she tore her calf muscle. So for 3 weeks, she was not really doing anything. So, I mean, I had to do the washing. I do a fair bit around the house. I'm just quick disclaimer. I do a fair bit around the house, but I don't wash any of the clothes normally, and I don't do the kids' lunches.
Is that because they want them to remain the same size?
Oh, yes, that's
and the same colour.
I don't know how that works.
Right.
You chuck them all together. But I found that tough, stepping into that area that I just didn't know much about. It was really hard. It took so much headspace. I know that sounds sad, but it did. If you haven't done that job before. And their lunches, my kids love me because I'm just like, chips, muesli bars.
Right.
And 20 bucks. Is that how much it is? 20 bucks for lunch? You know, so getting your head into that sort of realm where you're not used to and you don't feel comfortable is a very difficult thing. So I know what it's like to cross that line into a role which is not normally yours.
And you're very happy to hand it back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Once the calf muscle is healed.
Once you could move around in a wheelchair, you can take that back again.
But if you
Stretch was good for you.
Yeah, it was good.
Stretch is good.
And you appreciated her more.
Absolutely.
What role she played, and I think that's one of the things we need to learn to appreciate the difficulty and the challenges that go with whatever role you're choosing. You know, each one of us. If we do that, then there's increased respect. We all learn more.
True.
And we actually start to find that the roles are going to be better for our next generation because they'll do the thing that they also are good at, but also learn to do the things they can't do.
Fabulous. Well, I think we've kind of explored this topic really well. After the break, we have guest artist Michael Painter performing, which I know you'll enjoy. Welcome back to Bayside TV. I want to thank my guests today, Jamie Malcolm.
Thanks, Rob.
Been fantastic. Lisa McInnes-Smith.
You're so welcome.
And our regular co-host, Christy B.
It's always a pleasure.
Wonderful. Now performing his song Love the Fall, here's Michael Painter.
I remember a time when I was searching my mind just to find out if I'd ever define who I am. Could I ever afford to consider being born? I was sure that I saw all the world, but I keep pushing for more. I keep checking my direction, watching my own reflection. Am I still in connection with the way I wanna be? Did I behave? Cause I've been stuck here for days. I'm in a daze, had the chance to be a savior, but I threw it away. What if I die by the edge of my life and there's nothing beneath? What if I live like there's nothing to lose, just to die on my knees? At least I know I walked the talk, I took the scars, I risked it all, and learned to love the fall. Cause I could never see how it hurts to feel the worst. I'd never make it even though we rehearse. I would be that type of guy that never tried, that never took a chance and took his moment to fly, to be free. You may be of the opinion that I'm making the wrong decision, that I'm giving up the chance to live my life with your vision. But I can't give up, no I won't give up, until you see that okay is never ever enough. What if I die by the edge of my life and there's nothing better?